so it is essential to our salvation. It's part of the plan.
Okay. So when we get baptized, how do we get baptized? What is, you know, is baptism, because we got, like I said, we got some says baptism is immersion, and some says it's sprinkling, and some saying it's pouring. Either one is okay. Uh, what are your take on baptism? Is actual performing baptism? Go ahead, Sister Marsha. You got a mic.
When you being immersed in the water, when you baptize with the whole body, not just the sprinkling and all that. That ain't. Well, God wasn't talking about that. He was talking about getting your whole body being immersed, like being baptized.
Okay. What about the people who do baptism and they use the scripture? Some use the scripture. Uh, Out of the scripture that says, "Let us draw near now with a true heart, in full assurance of faith, having our hearts sprinkled from an evil conscience to our and our bodies washed with pure water." Uh, some people use that particular scripture to justify sprinkling. Uh, that's I think it's in the book of Hebrews 10:22. Somebody want to get it and expound on it a little bit?
I know I got the scripture on burial and baptism, but you might not be ready for that yet. And while we be buried, can I read it?
But they use that as a substitute to baptism, as sprinkling. And we have a scripture in Isaiah also. Who's finna say something? Uh, Evangelist Howard. We also have a scripture in Isaiah 52 and 15. These are scriptures that people uses. It's in 52:15 says, "So shall he sprinkle many nations. Kings shall shut their mouths at him. For what has not been told them they shall see, and what they have not heard they shall consider." Uh, so they uses that Isaiah that particular scripture uh, in the act of trying to use it for a lean for sprinkling. Because it says, uh, it talk about many shall be, he shall sprinkle many nations. So
Well, I mean, when I'm reading that, it doesn't. I don't know how they can get baptism out of that because it's when you read it, it's more sound like it's the camera had a 10 pound. It sounds more like he talking about his blood and not necessarily water baptism. And so I believe some of it is more so a lack of understanding and a lack of revelation. One thing I'm learning is as we read the Bible, sometimes we try to read it like it's just a regular book. But as you go and study, you start seeing, because even the sprinkle here and the sprinkle in Hebrew are two different sprinkles.
right.
So they couldn't even combine those scriptures to be able to make a point. I feel like that's a little either not, I'm going to say ignorance of not knowing or some defiancy. Because I don't know how they can read this and interpret it to be sprinkling with water.
Let me give you another one.
All right?
Ezekiel 36 and 25. It says, I will sprinkle clean water upon you, and you shall be clean. I will cleanse you from all your filthiness and from all your idols. Say that again.
You said 36 and 25.
Uh-huh. I'm just giving y'all some scriptures that people uses, to try and justify. If you notice, these scriptures, what I'm giving you now, are Old Testament scriptures. So Old Testament is, what is the Old Testament to us? A shadow. It's not what's supposed to be. It's a shadow. You got, did y'all read, y'all reading that scripture? And then you got Numbers 19 and 18. It says, a clean person shall take hyssop and dip it in the water and sprinkle it upon the tent, upon the vessels, and on the person who were there, and on the one who touched dead bones and slain and dead and or a grave. Now we know that this has nothing to do with your salvation. These sprinkles, or how they cleansed people back in the Old Testament time, how the children of Israel, because they were not supposed to be around no dead bodies or nothing that was dead, or touch nothing that was dead or anything. If they did, they had to go through a purification. But this has nothing to do with actual saving of the soul.
And it surely doesn't have anything to do with the forgiveness of sins, because
Right.
the purpose of baptism is the forgiveness of sin.
Right. Uh-huh.
And I was reading in the New Catholic Bible.